Okay, today we're going to start talking about a practice session for creating a Bridget Riley-inspired Op Art drawing or an optical illusion drawing. The first thing we need to talk about is the process by which we are going to create our template. And our template is going to be a wavy line. Now, generally when we think of a wavy line, we might think of something just as simple as this. But for our project, we want to create a wavy line with some variety to it. We're going to call these bumps on top our peaks, and we're going to call these dips down below the valleys. And that will make it easier so we're all talking about the same thing. So for our particular template, when we're creating our wavy line, we want to have some varying heights for our peaks and some varying depths for our valleys. And we also want to have some varying widths for our peaks and valleys. If you notice, these all look very much evenly spaced. So let me go ahead and show you a line that would be successful for what we're going to do. I would start, and maybe I'm going to have a line that might look like that. Now let's check that a little bit and see where our peaks come out and see if we do have a variety of heights for our peaks, and it looks like we do. And let's do the same for the valleys and see if our valleys have varying depths, and they do. Now let's check the width of our peaks and valleys and see if those also have variations. And it looks like we do have variation for our peaks and valleys in their width. So that would be a pretty good line. Now, one thing I want to caution you on is creating a line that has what I call ocean waves. And ocean waves are lines that would curve back on themselves. So if we draw a line down from the widest part of the peak, we've got a part that curves back within that line. Same thing here. We've got a peak that curves back as it's going down to the valley. And all that's going to do when we do our tracing of the template is create a smear down our page, and so that wouldn't be very successful. Okay, well now what we need to do is we need to prepare our template first of all. And what I want you to do is just lay 2 fingers down at the bottom of the 6-inch side of our 4x6-inch note card. And this is just a guideline, and I want you to draw that line all the way across. Doesn't have to be perfect, not straight. A little wobbly is okay. I don't want you to have your lowest valley any lower than that line. But we're going to go ahead then and draw one of those wavy lines that has some variety to it along from left to right horizontally. So that's going to be my line. And next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut on that line. Okay, to cut on this line, I want you to use nice smooth cutting, not hack cutting, because we want this line to be as smooth as possible because we're going to be tracing on this line. So just nice and slow. Open your scissors all the way up to the fulcrum. That's a little science word for you. Notice how I'm just making my cutting nice and smooth. I'm actually not moving my scissors a whole lot. I'm just moving my paper so that I can get that nice smooth cut. All right, so there's my template. The next thing we need to do is, I'm going to just set that off to the side a little bit, is we need to do some measuring. And the measuring that we need to do is on the 4-inch side of a second 4x6 note card. And I'm going to line up the 0 mark of my ruler, and on my ruler that's in from the edge a little bit. And I'm going to line up that, and I'm going to make a mark every 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to make these marks so that they touch the edge of my paper. And you'll need to notice that my ruler actually has 1/16 inch marks on the ruler. So to make it be 1/8 of an inch, I have to go every other line. If you have a ruler that has just 8 divisions between each inch, that would be the 1/8 inch mark. Or if you have a ruler that has even more little lines in there, it's possible that you have a ruler that has 1/32 of an inch marks, in which then you would go every 4 marks. But mine has 1/16 inch marks, so I'm going every other little line, and that's 1/8 of an inch, and I'm marking that all the way across my edge, my 4-inch edge. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our template and we're going to line it up perfectly even with the edges so that the edges are very even, lining up my point on the very edge of my template with that first 1/8 inch mark at the top, making sure my edges are nice and even. And then I'm just going to trace, and if you have a nice sharp pencil point, that will work out fantastic for you. And I'm going to trace everything that is visible on my plain card underneath. Then I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to move it down. I'm going to lift it up, and then I'm going to move it down to the next 1/8 inch mark, making sure my edge is perfectly even. And you can check yourself if between your valleys it's 1/8 of an inch, you know you have lined it up straight. And then you'll just continue tracing everything that you can across. Lift your template again down the next 1/8 inch mark, even with the edge, and continue going, and eventually you'll be tracing all the way across your template. And you want to go kind of slowly, because as you get going you might find yourself going accidentally, not following the curve and kind of getting off a little bit. And we want to avoid those kinds of mistakes, because when we do the actual project, remember this is just a practice, we'll be using marker. So I'm going to go ahead and continue tracing, and then we'll see what the finished product looks like. It is at this point where you can see our optical illusion has emerged. We have lines that are closer together where our template had more vertical lines in it, and that helps to create the illusion that our paper is actually moving. Those lines maybe even optically moving for us. We have now created a optical illusion drawing in the style of some of Bridget Riley's work.